In today's episode, Mama calling son, your picture is showing up for every contact on my phone, and it's that goofy one where you're smiling weird. At this point, the universe is just screwing with me. Here is the file I converted to MP3. Morgan Freeman, they did not in fact convert it to MP3. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Mama calling son, your picture is showing up for every contact on my phone, and it's that goofy one where you're smiling weird. Everyone's moms will eventually call them for tech support, even if it's not your field. I'm not exactly an Android tech support person, but when it's your mother. So my mom has the worst habit of throwing around jargon and meaningless details when asking for assistance. But she's my mom, so I've got to usually hear the long version of her tech support nightmares. Well, this time I short-circuited some of it. But the pertinent details are that my contact photo had mysteriously replaced literally everyone's contact picture of those contacts still on her phone. However, the vast majority of contacts, including yours truly, had vanished. So she asked a friend or relative what my number was, just to place this frantic tech support call to the only one willing and able to fix her phone. Me. Like 4 days after trouble started. Reversing course a little, I had repeatedly told her last fall to buy a new phone when they went on sale for Christmas. And she hadn't. Told her to get the cheapest Samsung model. Didn't happen. I think hers is running Android 7 and it's always filling up its memory. She also moved away, so I can't do this in person. One little tidbit had gotten me on track with solving this disaster, and that was that she claimed that her phone did a massive reset. Son, I've got a massive problem here. I've lost the normal stuff to get online to my bank. Google did a massive reset on my phone. Your face is on everything new that is on my phone, and when I'm calling someone, it's your face. You are the domain administrator for my phone, which is correct. I tried to talk to VZN, and I don't know how I can get into my bank, and I don't know my username, and the closest bank to me is blah, etc. I've got a major situation. I've got only 8 or 9 numbers for anybody, and John called me, so I have his contact now, and so I don't know anybody's number, and I can't log into my bank, because I don't know my username. There's about 3 to 5 minutes of this mess that's happened due to the massive reset, too long, didn't listen. Well, while my mom broadcasted to an empty phone, I hurriedly Googled Google Massive Reset to see if she had gotten into some kind of phishing email or app. I couldn't figure out if she had done a soft/hard reset, or what she got herself into, to be honest. That would be for further investigation later. So after some figuring, out popped a possible solution to her mess. Having the volume turned down helped. I determined that her main Google account was no longer linked to her phone. An old domain account that I still maintained for friends and family, and is grandfathered into Google G Suite, now Workspace. Her problems were probably due to a reset or deleting her domain account, and some combination of VZN Cloud/Google accounts/SIM card contacts had been corrupted or destroyed, or were simply not being copied amongst themselves. My plan of attack was: get logged into my Google domain admin screen, and look to see if her domain account was disabled or needed a password reset, and prepare to do that in all the ramifications of that. Walk her through adding back her mom_att_example_net Google account to this Android phone, which almost certainly had all of her contacts stored. Part 1, easy. Part 2, which I listed second but was the first thing I needed to do, well, this is my mom. Okay, Mom, that is way too much information in order to fix your phone. I need you to go into settings. She had apparently been practicing a lot in phone settings, because it only took about 2 minutes to get her into the Add Google account screen, working blind because her OS was much older than mine and going from memory from 2018 or whatever. I got her to log in, and amazingly, her password worked and she actually knew it. I didn't even have to do step 1. I was 5 minutes in on the fix, and it was fixed. But she was underwhelmed because it wasn't an immediate fix. Because, remember this? Google can't do its thing without Wi-Fi. Her phone told her that it needed to download 1.1 gigabytes of data, and it won't do that until it has Wi-Fi. The next 10 minutes are repeatedly informing her that she had to actually go do that. Mom, you'll have to go to Walmart or McDonald's or someplace and shop for an hour or something while it updates. No, you have to get Wi-Fi. Well, no, they have Wi-Fi at your friend's place, but you'll have to ask for their Wi-Fi password. Well, okay, say hi to the wife and kids, I've got to go. Hey, your face is changing to someone else. I think it's starting to work. Hopefully I can get into my bank. Mom, you have to go connect to Wi-Fi. Click. I heard back from my teenager a few days later that everything came back, and it's working again, and thanks. Pretty sure that was the short version. Hopefully my goofy photo is no longer the contact picture for her doctor, bank, and best friend. It is pretty weird. I put it there as a joke before she left, so maybe it's payback. But it's very therapeutic to think that my duck face was on every contact on her phone. At this point, the universe is just screwing with me. Update: well, I think I have an idea of what it is. The ATX12V specification requires that the PS-on connector in the 24-pin plug has a voltage that's slightly higher than 0.8 V. When you engage PS-on, it increases the resistance in the wire and drops the voltage, turning the power supply on. What I think the issue might be is that the PS-on resistance is too high to kick the motherboard on, and the problem is related to how it grounds with the case, and or the PSU when not in a case. And the only thing I can think of that causes that kind of damage is a power surge. The way it works is that if the resistance drops from high to low, closing the circuit briefly, the PSU turns on and powers up the rest of the system. In reverse, activating the switch and closing the circuit again, resistance jumps up and the power supply shuts off if that resistance is maintained. It makes sense too. If there's too much resistance, the system won't turn on, and I'll get the intermittent behavior depending on whether the board has been completely drained or if there's still a charge in the capacitors. Probing with a multimeter will confirm the diagnosis. In any case, the motherboard will need replacing. First post here, been lurking for years. I'm a qualified network engineer. I've worked in the IT industry for over a decade, twice in desktop/server technician roles, on-call support, hardware journalism, yada yada. I need to vent. I'm not stumped. I know there's an issue with the motherboard in the computer that I'm currently fixing. This thing is possessed with an attitude that could be described as aggressively childish. I built a computer for a customer. It's a low-end system with an Athlon 200G, 8GB DDR4, 240GB M.2 SSD, etc. It only does productivity tasks in Stardew Valley. This customer is perfectly capable of using technology, and she always calls me first before moving the system, swapping cables, or when there's something funky. I curated my customers such that none of them are problem children. Out of the blue, she calls and tells me the computer won't switch on. I get there and sure enough, it doesn't turn on. It's not a cabling issue, there's power to the wall, the power switch is known to be good. I take it back and test it myself, and it still won't turn on. I unplug things and disconnect hardware and remove the other DIMM. It still doesn't turn on. I take the board and power supply out of the case and test it on a box, and it turns on. Back in the case, problem. Out the case, no problem. I tested with another case and I verified that the board won't turn on when it's inside any of the cases I tested. The case itself passes inspection for possible shorts, and a faulty switch nothing, nada, zilch. So I RMA the board and tell the supplier that it might work outside the case, but that there appears to be a problem when it's inside a chassis. They agree to test it for me. Wouldn't you know it, the B** starred works just fine in all scenarios, even extended benchmarking and long periods of being idle or in sleep mode inside a case, on a test bench, and the motherboard box. I got the board back on Saturday and put the CPU and RAM in. Hooked up a known good PSU. It doesn't start. I did several component swaps to check what the cause could be, but nothing worked. Just an hour ago I assembled the system to take it to a computer shop for a second opinion, because there's clearly something wrong with the setup, but I can't pinpoint it. I know what the symptoms are, but the cause eludes me. Always get a second pair of eyes on a problem when you can't figure it out. The stupid thing starts up on the first try after putting it back into the original chassis. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk titled I Hate Computers and Printers. We'll probably replace the motherboard. Here is the file I converted to MP3. Morgan Freeman, they did not in fact convert it to MP3. I have worked in the creative services department at a large law firm for over 20 years now. We have gotten the reputation for taking any kind of audio or video format, both physical and digital, and make it usable. 1-inch videotape on a spool? I know a guy in the metro area who can do that. U-matic tape, I have a deck in the back. Friday, word processing says they received some large MP3 files from outside the firm that will not load into their dictation software. The things are well over a GB, which is pretty hefty for a mere MP3. I try numerous programs and get nothing. I then try VLC player. I comes up as video but no audio. I think for a minute, no, it can't be. I changed the extension from MP3 to MP4, they play fine. Turns out someone thought they could convert an MP4 to an MP3 just by changing the file extension. I mean, that is how that works, right?